Growing businesses and finance professionals, you need Bill Spend and Expense, the free-to-use spend management software. It's powered by the Bill Divvy Corporate Card, which helps growing companies scale with credit lines of $500 to $15 million, automated expense reports, and as many virtual cards as you need. For a limited time, get $500 when you get started with Bill Spend and Expense. Request a demo at bill.com/get500. Terms and conditions apply. Advertised credit ranges are not guaranteed and are determined at approval. Card issued by Cross River Bank, member FDIC.
Hey there, Love Food listener. Julie Duffy Dillon here, and welcome to episode 199 of the Love Food Podcast. This is a bonus episode, so if this is the first time you are listening to Love Food Podcast, just know that it's a tad bit different. Typically, we answer a letter from someone who's written a letter to food, and they outline their complicated relationship, and then me and sometimes a guest go through it, sift through it, and take our time and hopefully find some different ways for this person to move forward. But today is a bonus episode, like I said, and it's called the After the Letters Project. And for the month of February, I'm going to be doing bonus episodes on PCOS, also known as polycystic ovarian syndrome. And today, what I'm discussing is PCOS and weight. Oh, it's such an important topic. And for many of you listening who have PCOS, you may be thinking that I'm going to be talking about how to pursue weight loss with PCOS. And I want you to pause and just imagine the possibility of what if the pursuit of weight loss is actually bad advice for you? I think there are a number of reasons why pursuing weight loss is not I don't think it's a good idea. There's actually 4 different reasons why I think it is, and I want to share them with you now. The first is that we know that PCOS is passed down through families, and it's not caused by weight gain. So we can assume that weight loss won't make it any better. We also know that diets don't work long-term for most people. So why would they work for those with PCOS? Even more, weight science research has been able to connect that the more that one diets, the more they weigh. Yeah, isn't that so interesting to think about? So when we look at weight science research, looking 2 to 5 years post diet intervention, whether a person continues to diet or not, doesn't matter, the more someone's going to weigh. And 1/3 to 2/3 of those people who start a diet intervention will weigh even more than they did when they initially started the diet. Yeah, so the pursuit of weight loss for people who have PCOS or not is basically connected to more weight gain over time. So why is dieting such bad advice for PCOS in particular? Because you know that weight science research, we don't have that for people with PCOS. We have it for the general population. But for people with PCOS in particular, when researchers look into dieting, what we know is that for most people with PCOS, dieting predicts binge eating. Yes, it predicts it. So recent research in the scholarly journal Appetite found that 60% of those in their study with PCOS experienced binge eating following a diet, and 39% of their sample were with clinically significant binge eating. And in the research, they actually said weight cycling or yo-yo dieting predicted binge eating. You may be wondering what weight cycling is or yo-yo dieting, but that's basically what I was mentioning earlier in weight science, is that when someone starts a diet and loses weight, usually people reach the peak of weight loss around 6 months to 1 year after starting any kind of diet. And then about at the 1 to 2 year mark is when people start to, for the most part, start to regain the weight. Most nutrition research stops at 1 year. And most PCOS diet research stops at 12 weeks, which is really, really funny. I mean, we have to pause to acknowledge how ridiculous that is. And honestly, when you read PCOS research that is indicating a diet recommendation as a favorable outcome long-term, really dig deeper into that statement and see what they're citing. Most of the time, the research is only 12 weeks long. And seriously, like almost everything. I have yet to find any PCOS diet research that's looking at weight loss that's longer than 12 weeks. And weight science research, we basically have to rely on we have to rely on the general population rather than specifically PCOS research. But I'm getting kind of in the weeds here. But anyway, weight cycling basically means that as we go 2 years to 5 years post-diet, most people are going to be regaining more weight than they even lost to begin with. And so for a lot of people, what that means is that they try another diet and then they go through the same cycle again, and then they try another one. That is the weight cycling. Deb Beauregard is a psychologist out of Oakland, California. She often calls the diet industry the weight cycling industry for that reason. But for PCOS, what we've been able to find in the research, and specifically the one that I am talking about right now, which I will put in the show notes, the citation for it so you can read it yourself, is that weight cycling or yo-yo dieting predicts binge eating. This is really, really tough and challenging for so many people with PCOS anyway. And that's why dieting harms people with PCOS, in my opinion, more than anybody else, because it is setting you up to feel like a failure. And you're not a failure. You're not. The tools that you are given are really shitty, honestly. They're faulty and they are seeped in diet culture. There are assumptions made that weight equals health, and we really need to pause and tease that apart. That is just not accurate, especially with PCOS. So moving on to the fourth reason, if we can keep in mind how dieting predicts binge eating for people with PCOS. PCOS is a condition where you have these hormonal imbalances going on, right? There's insulin levels that are often out of whack. There are higher androgen levels. There's all these hormones that are dysregulated. And when a person is dieting, oftentimes they are told that dieting is going to help lower insulin and lower those androgens and make things like egg quality better and to make insulin levels better, blood sugar better. But here's the thing. We know that long-term diet research has been able to show us that for people who are in the general population, so with or without PCOS, dieting makes those markers worse. Actually, take out the androgens because I haven't read any research in particular that looks at long-term how dieting predicts androgen levels, but long-term dieting promotes higher insulin levels, higher blood sugar, and also is connected to higher blood pressure and worsened depression. When you have PCOS, you're already dealing with higher circulating insulin. And you're also experiencing low cholecystokinin. Oh my gosh, that hormone always trips me up. But we'll just call it CCK. And so when you are dieting with PCOS, you basically are going to experience the most intense food cravings. It is going to feel like a primal need. Every cell in your body having to eat. And when you are dieting, along with this kind of already hormonal dysregulation, it makes that primal need feel like you are going to die if you don't eat that loaf of bread or that plate of brownies. If you have PCOS and you're listening and you've dieted, I have a feeling you're like, oh yeah, that's exactly it. And I have to name that I have never experienced PCOS. I just have had the privilege of sitting across many people over the years who've taught me what this experience is like. But that sounds so hard. The way I imagine it is like drowning and then finally getting to the top of the surface and being able to breathe for air and not being able to gasp for air, like only given a little bit of air. And how hard that would be because it would feel like you're dying. And so when you're dieting with PCOS, it's making your lived experience and your hormones have so much harder of a chance of just being in the moment and being present. Not only is it distracting from like emotionally, but physiologically, it's going to feel like you're dying. And this for so many people, they've told me that they thought this meant that they were weak. They didn't have any self-control. No, you have PCOS and you've been given the wrong tool. Dieting and the pursuit of weight loss is something that's only going to lead to weight cycling and predict binge eating for PCOS. I really hope you can pause and decide for you, is dieting the next best step? Should I be pursuing weight loss? And I hope you don't. You get to do whatever you want with your body. That is your choice. And I hope you have access to tools that help you to feel more at home in your own skin so you can access more energy and not have to feel like shit all the time. All right, enough of all that. Usually these After the Letters Project episodes are only about 5 or 6 minutes, and I've doubled that already. So it's time for us to end. But if you would like to check out my PCOS and Food Peace course, I would love if you could at PCOSandFoodPeace.com. During the month of February 2020, I have a special 30% off coupon you can use at checkout. Just enter the coupon code LoveFood and you'll get 30% off. All right, that's all for now. Until next time, take care.